Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 636 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our ninth book just came out. It's called From Letters to Leaders, The Legacy of Service. So I want you to go and pick up that book on Amazon today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring fraternity and sorority leaders together. Fun fact, every once in a while, I'm combing through social media and I see that one particular speaker just does an amazing job working on a college campus with fraternity and sorority students. So I immediately have to reach out and find out, hey, what's going on over there? Tell me more about that. Because I want to know what's working for fraternity and sorority leaders today. And our next guest has something that is working. Michelle Rupp brings over 2 decades worth of local media expertise to the table. Having created a local lifestyle show, stood in front of a business reporting, and sat behind the anchor desk, not only can she help you craft a meaningful message to get noticed by local media, but she's got the contacts to help move it along. Michelle has an Emmy. She is an Edward R. Murrow winner for reporting. Let Michelle craft your business's or your organization's heartfelt story to get the publicity that it deserves. It will set your organization apart in your community. She's also offering a free PDF to all of our Fraternity Foodie Podcast listeners. So we'll talk more about that PDF, and the link to that PDF is in the show notes down below. So make sure you click on that link in order to download her very useful PDF. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Hi, thank you so much. It's great to be here today.
It is great to have you on the show. I know that we actually had you on the show a while back, but I know that now you have this new program that seems to be really resonating with fraternity and sorority students. So I wanted to get you back on the show so we can talk about it. And you recently spoke at the University of Central Arkansas, their Greek Summit, and that was for the NPHC, Panhellenic, and also the IFC students. What stood out to you about that particular experience at Central Arkansas?
I had a couple of things that stood out to me. One is that during our session, none of the students were like this.
Mm.
No one was on their phone. And I had someone ask me later, well, how'd you think you do? How'd you think you did? And I said, well, no one was on their phone. So for me, that's a win. We had a great conversation about networking and about making memorable first impressions. And what stood out to me was their desire, their eagerness, their hunger, if you will, to learn more about how to make a memorable first impression, how to stand out in a positive way and be memorable when it comes to networking, job interviews, going to conferences. We all kind of look for that competitive edge that's going to make us stand out, make us be the one that the speaker goes home and remembers, oh, I remember that person. So we kind of traded a few secrets on what they can do as they are starting out, particularly in starting out in looking for places of employment and what they're going to do post graduation, how to really leverage making a memorable first impression.
I love it. And this actually comes as no surprise to me because we both know that Gen Z is hyper focused on jobs and careers. And
Yeah,
also, what I've noticed too is that today's college students, they realize how difficult it is in the job market right now for a new college graduate.
that's
They
right.
understand that very clearly. So I think this topic that you've chosen really resonates with them for both of those reasons. So your session focused on how to create a memorable first impression.
Mhm.
Why do you think that first impressions are still so underestimated by college students today?
I have to wonder if maybe there is a belief that uh, we don't need to show formality when we're making a first impression. I also wonder if because maybe we're not confident in our communication skills, or maybe we don't know how to speak professionally, or we might come across in a way that we don't want to, that it causes collegiates to maybe shrink back, maybe make themselves look small. And one of the topics that we talked about was your body language. Your body language is going to make a far bigger first impression than anything that comes out of your mouth. And so, by walking into the room confidently with your head up, making eye contact, shoulders down and back, that exudes a level of confidence. Even if you're shaking in your boots, that still exudes a level of confidence. And that first impression to that business owner or that hiring manager would be, all right, this young person has their stuff together, versus shrinking in and kind of making yourself small. And I've noticed young ladies doing this particularly, who might hold their arms, which, listen, I'm cold all the time, so I have to make sure that I'm not throwing up a defensive stance, but trying to be small and almost unnoticeable and not making eye contact, that's going to leave an impression too. And that's not the impression that we want as our first impression.
Yeah, you're totally right about that. I think about the social skills with today's generation. Obviously, they're all native to their phones.
Yeah.
When they're going on dates, they're swiping right or left. Might be a little bit different from when you and I were dating back in the
Mhm.
day. We would actually go and have conversations,
Right.
in person and just talk. So I think for us, those social skills are a little bit more innate. And so I think that's something that today's college students really need to continue to refine. You're right about the first impression. I also think about the way that we dress when we go on an interview, right? And that's another whole topic. But, making sure that we keep that somewhat formal. If we come in and we're really dressed down for a first interview, that is a first impression, favorable or unfavorable. Am I right?
That's exactly right. And when I did this particular talk, I purposefully wore jeans and a printed tee that said, "You are gold, baby, solid gold," and then a bright hot pink jacket over it, and some fun silver sneakers. And when we got to the section on first impression, I said, "So what's your first impression?" Each one of you had one as soon as you walked in the room and you saw me.
Hmm.
So what's that first impression?
Yeah.
And let's see if you're right. And so we ping ponged around some of their answers. And by and large, what I was hoping to portray through my attire that day resonated with them, and they got it. But we absolutely talked about how you dress. Ladies, let's talk about our fingernails. Let's talk about our eyelashes. Let's talk about making eye contact and having a firm handshake
There you go.
when you are meeting someone. And we went around the room and, let's don't crush me, but also don't hand me a cold fish. Like, let's have a solid, firm handshake, as well as showing up to a job interview 5 minutes early. Leave your phone in the glove box. Don't take it inside. There are a lot of people who will look in the parking lot when they know they have job applicants, and they'll see where they're parking, and they'll see if they show up 5 minutes early, and they'll see if they get out of their car and kind of adjust. We all do. uh, or are they coming in on two wheels with their hair on fire because they're running late? Because all of that works for you or against you when making a first impression, particularly in a job interview situation.
Yeah, those are some great common first impression mistakes that I see students making all the time with employers, with alumni, with campus professionals. So we really need to pay attention to all of those things. And you brought up that networking word. I think we should talk about that because I think many students hear that word and immediately they become uncomfortable. So how do you reframe networking in a way that feels more authentic to the students? Because nobody wants to feel like they're selling stuff to somebody who maybe is not a buyer, as an example.
Mhm. This is where I saw light bulbs go off in the
Mm.
room, because when we talk about networking, On a collegiate level, on a Greek organization level, we're talking about relationship building. We have to know how to build relationships. We do that through recruitment. I could make the argument that some of those that were in the room are experts at relationship building. Look at the sizes of their recruitment classes. You have to know how to do that. And relationship building is a more friendly way of saying networking. And there are a variety of similarities between what Greek leaders are doing and how they can utilize and leverage their leadership into networking, into potential experience when applying for jobs as well. So while networking is that word in and of itself it might seem intimidating, you're already doing it. You're doing it at least twice a year, if not on a daily basis, when you are genuinely talking about your fraternity or your sorority. You're not selling it. You're just talking about your positive experience with others in class or on campus who might also want that similar experience.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And you're right. I think the fraternity and sorority members, they've got those skills during recruitment every year. They're at
Yes.
least doing it twice a semester at a minimum. So, yeah, absolutely. It's really another fancy way of talking about relationship building. So now, fraternity and sorority members, they have various chapter roles. It could be president, it could be treasurer, it could be recruitment chair. Sometimes you might be sergeant at arms, and nobody, if you're not in a fraternity or sorority, you have no idea what sergeant at arms. What does that person do? Are they
Right.
really good, with their muscles, or what's going on there? So, how do we turn all of these positions and these roles into real networking advantages instead of just something that is a resume bullet point?
Sure. And I would encourage your listeners, your audience, your viewers to look at that experience and and kind of write down what some of that experience is. And the free PDF will kind of help guide the students through that. But for example, if you are chapter president, um, first of all, congratulations. Second of all, you know how to command a room of 100, of 200. You know how to lead a team of individuals. You've been president, for crying out loud. That also would tell me that you've got great organizational skills or strong organizational skills. You have to. You're juggling so much. You also would have a level of understanding brand reputation and brand management because you are defending your brand, you're protecting your letters, you're protecting the image of your Greek organization. And I would also be willing to bet you've got a level of conflict resolution because I'd be willing to bet you might have had to appear on the standards board in front of someone who's coming before you because code of conduct is in question, code of honor is in question. So you probably have a level of crisis communications built in there as well. And for the collegiate who might be listening that says, well, that's all fine, well, and good for president. I've never held an office. I just show up to chapter meeting on Tuesday nights at 7. What do I have to offer? I go back to, you know how to build relationships. You do know how to walk up to a freshman, a non-Greek individual, and start a conversation about your fraternity or sorority. Well, that's networking 101. So you already know how to build relationships. And let's say you've served on an event committee, then you also have a level of organizational skills. Maybe you've chaired a committee. Well, that's a leadership skill. You've led a team. Anybody who's had to put together a homecoming parade float, come on, I want you on my team, okay? Like, you know how anybody who has ever worked hand in hand with a pageant, I want you on my team. Like, you know the level of detail and the level of organization, you know how to build plan A through F because things are going to go wrong.
Yep. 100%. Two things I would say here. Number one, if you're in a fraternity or sorority, you're already a leader. Okay. That
Absolutely.
let's just start there. I think
Yeah,
100% of our fraternity and sorority listeners are leaders. And also, by the way, we all know people who have no position in their fraternity or sorority but are great leaders. And we also know people who are in leadership positions that are not great leaders, right? So I
that's new.
think it's really important to understand that concept. That's number one. Number two, I would say to you is that don't just tell me you were treasurer. I want you to give me real data, real numbers to
Right.
quantify for me what you did as recruitment chair. Tell me that you increased the size of your chapter by 20%. That
Right.
means something to me as a business owner. And then I can figure out how to use those skills that Michelle had in her chapter in order to grow my company, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
You've increased membership. You've going back to your treasurer reference. You've overseen a budget of several thousands of dollars,
Right.
and no one's gone bankrupt. That's good, and no one's embezzled the money. That's
Right.
great too. That is real world, tangible assets that you are learning and continuing to refine that a business owner is going to say, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, you may not be an accounting major, yet you may have an affinity for finance. Okay. I'd rather take someone who has been in charge of a budget that is 50K, 80K, six figures. I don't care that you don't have an accounting degree. I can teach you that. You already know the fundamentals of how to handle money and not mismanage it. Excuse me. You can't teach that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of college students that don't have that experience coming out of college managing a six-figure budget, but many of our fraternity and sorority treasurers are doing that right now. And that's
That's right.
something to talk about in your resume. Put those numbers in there.
Yep.
Talk about that you reduced expenses by 25%. Tell me that you were able to improve collections by 15%. Give me numbers that really stands out to me because you could be treasurer, but be the worst treasurer in the history of our chapter. You got to tell me, demonstrate to me, what did you do as treasurer? It's not enough to just put that title in there. I think that's a really important thing.
That's right.
All
That's right.
right, so we talked a lot about communication in fraternity and sorority and that these members have that skill to talk to other people, which is great. But why do you think employers care more about communication skills and presence over, let's say, a perfect GPA?
Oh, for sure. Here's a little secret. A lot of the hiring managers are Gen X and millennials, and we have an expectation that maybe has never been communicated because we just assumed people knew. We assume you know how to communicate. We assume you know how to communicate in a professional manner. We assume you know how to pick up the telephone and make a phone call to get information. That may not always be the correct assumption by Gen X and by millennials, yet we are the ones that are hiring. So, my encouragement to Gen Z, sure, of course, have a great GPA, but know your soft skills. Know how to formulate a question, a thought, know how to articulate it. If you're still in school, if you're not looking at graduating here in the next couple of months, jump in a speech class. Take a speech class your last semester or a semester and learn how to be able to have conversations, handle conversations, start conversations that don't necessarily revolve around, hey, this is our sorority, hey, this is our fraternity, but real world conversations. That means so much more to an employer than a 4 point, a 5 point. Yes, that's great, fantastic. You're a genius. But can you talk? Can you talk? Can you stand up? My team does quarterly reports. Can you stand up and do a quarterly report? Can you put together a PowerPoint if I need you
Mhm.
to?
Mhm.
Can you put it to, I know you can put it together on video. I know you know how to edit, but if I need a deck, can you do that? And those are some of the expectations that Gen X and millennials have because those were what were impressed upon us is, hey, make sure you know, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank you,
Hmm.
know how to speak professionally. And then that just has carried on. And I have a concern that there is a subset of Gen Z where the notion of speaking or communicating absolutely terrifies them.
And there are resources on college campuses to help with that. There are public speaking
Absolutely.
courses that you can
Absolutely.
take. That's all included in your tuition. You'll get credit
You're
for
paying
that.
for it.
So yeah, you're paying for it. Go take that public speaking class. I mean, if there's any one class that I would highlight to every college student listener right now is go taking that public speaking course. It will pay off in dividends. Obviously, I make my living doing public speaking today. So it will pay off. I'm talking about literally six figures for you if you can get really good at this. And you have this background in broadcast journalism. You're very good at this.
Yeah,
So do you think that there are particular communication skills that will separate some of those candidates from, who gets a callback from those who really don't?
I do. Yes. If you know how to come into an interview smiling, again, eye contact, you show up early, you are presenting yourself well, that speaks volumes and that leaves a memorable impression. Whereas showing up late, you kind of shrink back, maybe you don't make eye contact, you hand me a cold fish, you don't give me a firm handshake. Um, that's going to leave an impression and I'm going to think two things. Man, either you're having a really horrible day or are you not interested in this position?
Right.
Because I've got a file folder this thick of people who would be. Now, I did share with the folks at UCA listing that you are in a fraternity and a sorority for me because I'm an Alpha Sig, um, immediately got you an interview. Okay. I know that there is a level of expertise and experience that you're going to bring to the table just by being in a Greek organization. There are alumni, particularly here in the South. There are alumni everywhere. May not be alumni of your chapter or of your fraternity or sorority, but they are Greek nonetheless, and they understand the Greek process and what it means to be in a fraternity or sorority. So that automatically is going to get you an interview. It's what you do in the interview that will determine if you move on
Yeah.
or
You make a great point. There are a lot of fraternity and sorority members that I'll check them out on LinkedIn, and they don't even have their affiliation in LinkedIn. And I'm like, what a missed opportunity. You got to put that in there because, to your point, there are so many Greeks, especially in the South, in hiring positions. So if you don't have it in there, I think that's just a missed opportunity on your part. And I also think you're right. I think if you want to win this interview and you know that there are a ton of candidates that are applying for this job, which is more likely than not, then I would say to you that you need to impress upon that hiring manager that you really want this job. And if you're not looking at them in the eye or you're not giving them a firm handshake, that just tells me that maybe you're just not that interested, right? And so, all of your communication really needs to the point to this fact that you want this job and you have communicated that you want this job more than anything else and you're the perfect candidate for it. I have to feel that when you leave the interview because if somebody else is more excited about this job, even if they have a lower GPA, I'll probably take the person who's more pumped up about the job.
That's right. That's right. And if you can go into that interview setting and lead with value based on your experience or what you've been able to accomplish in the fraternity, in the sorority, as a treasurer, as a president, as a recruitment chair, but lead with some value, that's going to leave an impression with me too, because now all of a sudden you've stepped into my world and you've identified a potential problem and you have the solution, that's going to set you apart as well.
Mhm.
So, what kind of value can you bring to the organization that you could lead with and share in that interview process?
Yeah. Did anything surprise you about what the students at UCA didn't know or maybe hadn't been taught yet?
I had one young man who asked about the follow up, and I was really thankful that he asked that question because it wasn't on my radar to actually mention. He had had an opportunity over the Christmas holidays to engage with a hiring manager and had sent his resume. And so his question to me was, how long do I wait before I follow up? I sent my resume and I didn't hear anything. And we had had such a good conversation. And he knows my dad, I mean, several different things. And I said, okay, exhale with me and let's give it a couple days. Um, I one of my standard ideas that I've just kind of put together throughout business is understanding that I get more responses on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on an email than I ever get on a Monday or a Friday. So I said, give it a week, maybe give it 10 days. We're just coming off the Christmas holidays. So people are just getting back into the office, no idea what their inboxes might look like. You don't want to get lost in the shuffle. So give it give it a couple weeks coming off the holidays. Any other time during the year, give it 5 days, 5 to 7 days.
Mm.
And then pick up a Tuesday, a Wednesday, or a Thursday. Don't send it at noon. Don't send it at 1:30. Maybe it's an 11 o'clock email that you send. And he was like, I'm so glad I asked. And there were other peers in the room that said, we never thought about that. We never heard, no one ever told us that. Like, that's great. That's great information. That's great advice.
Yeah, really good stuff. I like that a lot. You're obviously a very proud member of Alpha Sigma Alpha. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of undergraduate Michelle, ready to graduate as a member of Alpha Sigma Alpha. How do you think students can leverage these alumni connections within the organization more effectively without feeling like they're asking for something?
First thing I would do is look at my alumni directory and find out who is already working in television.
Mhm.
That's what young Michelle, graduating with a degree in in broadcast journalism, would have done. Um, do I have any? Is there anybody in my network, in my alumni network, that's in TV that would have that I could, engage? They might have some influence in a position of some sort. If that answer is no, okay, then what is there an alumni that you are familiar with, that you've heard their name? They may or may not be infamous in their Greek organization, but reach out, send them a DM. By and large, we love as humans when someone reaches out and says, hi, I'm an Alpha Sig. I noticed you were in TV. I know you're a runner. What I'm starting to run. What would be some advice you would give to a new runner? That opens the door. And then maybe your third or fourth question is, so how'd you get started in TV? Oh, I'd be happy to share. I'd be happy. As a matter of fact, here, have you done an internship? You haven't? Well, let me connect you. Boom, 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 boom. I don't know of any alumni who, if a collegiate reached out to them, that alumni would say, hit the road. I don't have time.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's not in our nature. By the simple fact that we are both Alpha Sigs, we already have some alignment right there. I don't care if you're in Montana and I'm in Virginia. We're already aligned because we're in the same group. So let's have that. Let's have a conversation. Let's start out. Are you looking for a mentor? Are you not sure how to start that conversation? Can you help me? Sure. Let's
Hmm.
do that. I would be shocked and appalled at any alumni that would not respond
Yeah.
to a fellow brother or sister.
100%. And I think that extends beyond Alpha Sig. I'm
Oh, yes.
100% sure that if Michelle got a message from a Chi Omega that she is
100%.
absolutely going to respond in
Absolutely.
kindness and in love and in
That's right.
shared values between Alpha Sig and Chi Omega. Just because it's different letters, we've all committed to the same values. Every single one of us, no matter what fraternity or sorority you're in, I don't care. I know all of your values. Okay.
That's right.
So that's a wonderful thing. And also, as a college student, let me tell you something. Here's your advantage. Your advantage is you have nothing to sell me. Nothing. So for me as an alumnus, I am much more likely to respond to you in a positive way. It might not be today because my schedule is booked with interviews, but it could be within the next week or two.
Yeah.
And I will set up a time for us to talk because you have nothing to sell me. All you're looking for is guidance. And we as alumni, we want to feel helpful. We want to feel like we're offering value to other people. It makes us feel good. So understand that you really shouldn't hesitate to reach out. So I think all of those things are right on point. Really, really good. All right. So why do you think that programs like this one that you've given at the University of Central Arkansas, talking about creating a memorable first impression, why do you think this is so essential for Greek communities right now?
It's a missing link. And in an environment where people are looking for the competitive edge, if you're coming out of college looking for a job and you are thrust into the market with people who already have these skills, they're already 5 miles down the road from you. So my hope and my desire is to get that collegiate 5 miles down the road so they're at least running neck and neck. And if you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't know that there are these expectations, if you don't know exactly how to present yourself, um, you need to, and then leverage that. And it's okay that you don't know. There's no judgment, but let's get you to know. That way, you know how to act and present when it really matters.
Yeah, really good stuff. I really enjoyed that. And I think also to your last point too, about finding other alumni that are in your field, every fraternity or sorority has these membership books, these directories that basically will give you listings of all of your fraternity brothers or sorority sisters that are in particular fields. And they'll actually organize it by location, if you want to stick to a particular region of the country for your employment, or by career choice, people who are in finance, people who are in mortgages, people who are in investment banking, whatever it is, there is a list of all those people that belong to that subcategory. So if you were a member of Sigma Pi, as an example, Andrew Ross Sorkin is a member of Sigma Pi, and he is a very, very good writer for the New York Times and also appears every single day on Squawk Box on CNBC. And he just wrote a killer book called 1929. And so these are people who care deeply about their fraternity and sorority membership in broadcast journalism that would love to help you. But
That's
you have to be the one that's going to reach out, right? Understand that guys like Andrew Ross Sorkin are very busy promoting new books. But they do love their affiliation and they want to help you get to where you want to go. So,
right.
all of that said, Michelle, I think this is a fantastic interview here today. Where can our listeners go to connect with you and bring this new program that you're offering to their campus?
We've got two options. We always have LinkedIn, and LinkedIn, it's Michelle Rupp, RUPP, like Peter Pan. And then over on Instagram, that handle is Memorable Results Media. And I take DMs at either place. And of course, the website is Memorable Results Media. But I would love to have a deeper conversation, continue this conversation on college and university campuses, and equip Gen Z to make a more powerful impact than what they're already set up to make.
Fantastic. Memorable Results Media. Go and check out the website, or you can connect with Michelle on Instagram there. And don't forget about that PDF. Just go down to our show notes and you can click on that link to get Michelle's PDF as well. No charge. It's just for you as a reference point. So, Michelle, thank you so much for being on our show again. You've again just knocked it out of the park. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Yes. And to our audience, if you learned something today from Michelle, I need you to share this episode with your chapter. So throw it into the group chat. I know you all have group chats going on right now. Share it on social media, whether it be on Instagram or wherever you're hanging out. You never know who needs to hear Michelle's message today. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.